Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this episode of BiblioTech On Air, BiblioTech's official podcast. I'm Rosanna.
I'm Israel.
I'm Ruby.
And I'm Lewis.
And today we're going to be talking about the latest novel from R.F. Kuang, Katabasis, available on both Cloud Library and Hoopla in German. With that said, quick summary for all of you curious listeners out there. So, Alice, a graduate student at Cambridge, has dedicated years of her life to studying under the brilliant but deeply flawed Professor Grimes. He is both mentor and abuser, and Alice convinces herself that enduring his mistreatment will be worth it if it leads to academic recognition and success. When Grimes dies suddenly, Alice makes a desperate choice. She descends into hell itself, determined to bring him back. Alongside Peter, a rival student she has long resented, she travels through strange and punishing landscapes that echo the cruelties of the academic world, shifting trials, illusions, and ordeals that test their strength, loyalty, and sense of self. As they journey deeper, Alice is forced to confront the contradictions at the heart of her devotion to Grimes, her own ambition, and the ways power and abuse can warp relationships between teachers and students. Her uneasy partnership with Peter challenges her assumptions, pushing her to re-examine what success and worth truly mean.
Yeah, and so before we get into the discussion with our questions, we do, along with Katabasis, we do have other works by R.F. Kuang on Hoopla and Cloud Library. We did an episode on Yellowface, which was really good. We did it with Michelle. But let's get into the questions, right? So, what did you think of Kuang's version of hell as both an academic campus and a test of the mind?
I didn't know if the academic campus was special to them or if that truly is how hell is.
That's kind of what I thought.
That's a
I figure
question I had.
they're academics, so they're going to go down to hell and see hell as, a school, university, bigwig college environment like that.
To my
but
memory.
I think it varies,
I think it also, at some point, Alice is like, somebody asked her, did you travel outside of your college? Because the other levels of hell are barren and, solemn and everything.
To my memory, it was stated that it like shifts depending on like the sojourners that are down there. And that's why like...
Right.
Partially because of the fact that there are no like surviving tales from people who like existed after the like foundation of Cambridge University. I think that like either it was a college campus because that was like newly where they wanted to like establish things, or because like the reason that all of the accounts prior to Cambridge University being founded didn't mention a college is just because it just didn't exist yet.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of in Percy Jackson, the way the gods present themselves, it depends on like the era, which they're in. So it could be that Cambridge is the it place, or like the academics is a university is the like, the most prominent place. So that's what it presents it to be.
Right.
But also I remember too that the shades that are there and that they see in front of them are also prevalent to their life.
Yeah.
Right? I think.
Yeah, just like in Dante's Inferno, how he like comes across like politicians and like religious figures and people that he had like beef with in life.
And that's a concept, like a trope you see in media like that, like, deities or environments, even when someone's suffering so much like psychological trauma, that manifests itself in something that like is recognizable or presentable to the, like,
exactly.
something that they'll understand. Like a lot of times, like with God too, like the trope is, oh, I'm in a shape that you'll recognize, or I'm speaking in a language that's perceivable to your brain.
Moses in the bush. You're familiar with the bushes, Moses, aren't you?
It was a tree for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
So what were your overall impressions of the pacing, world building, and story structure?
I mean, full disclosure, I've already mentioned this to y'all. I have not yet finished the book because it is very like dense in a lot of ways. And I, unfortunately, did not give myself a lot of time to read and finish this book, even though I knew I was going to like it a lot. And as I told you all, I decided that it was probably going to be better off if I didn't cram to finish this book, instead of like, so I could just like actually have thoughtful things to say and like details didn't get lost and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I got a little over halfway through, and I am very glad with the decision I made because genuinely with the way that this is paced, it's just information after information after information. It's very hard to take in after a while if you're just cramming it all into like one space. But that being said, I adore the world building of this so much. I love the depth of the characters. I like the just visual descriptions of what this version of hell looks like. And it's all written so well, and it's all described so vividly that even though it's like really dreamlike, you can put yourself there. And I really didn't want to like start feeling like it was like all like blurring together. Like I want to actually like spend time like feeling like I'm there.
So it feels like R.F. Kuang took her time explaining things, giving information. Yeah. What about for you, Rosanna? What did you think?
I'm gonna counter that and say I feel like she bogged it down a bit with too much of an info dump. If because I get like, you know, it's academic and there's going to be a whole lot of emphasis on the academic part, but I feel like there's times where it just feels like it's not really adding much to the story.
I felt like, that way towards the very end.
It feels like it's just info dumping because, like, you know, there's all this research that's done. I don't want to let it go to waste. But with that said, I mean, it comes in clutch. If there's already stuff that you don't quite know about the book or certain concepts, then, you know, by all means. But me personally, I'm just like,
I think being familiar with a lot of the characters like Dante, Virgil, they mentioned T.S. Eliot, and just different concepts as well, like from mythology, that really helped me to enter the book and to follow along. So I felt like the pacing was good. The very end, like you had mentioned, I agree. For me, at the end, it was just, let's just get to it.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, she went to the Citadel. Let's go. Let's do this.
See, that's another thing. Like, towards the end, like when she was kind of like coming into herself, that's where I feel like the book, for me, it like was shining the most. Like those last 8 to 10 chapters, that's where I feel like I was the most invested, because I was like, okay, she's got a purpose, a true purpose. She's coming to her own. She's self-reliant, you know.
Yeah.
Like I did enjoy that a lot more. And also, I mean, she just completely goes unhinged, and it's great.
Definitely. So I've seen people call this like a modern day epic because the way an epic is structured. So the way, and Kim explained this to me. Kim is my wife.
Shout out to Kim.
Shout out to
So
Kim.
she says that in epics, the audience, the reader, is thrown into something that the climax that has already happened, right? So in this case, she's already killed Professor Grimes. Peter already thinks that he killed Professor Grimes, and so like, okay, we need to go on this mission because we're right in the get-go, the first chapter, we're going to hell.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be, but let's talk about the flashbacks, right? Because there were several times where we go into flashbacks because like in this very beginning of the book, they're going to hell, and we don't get all that, you know, the depth of their characters. We get it later on, right?
Yeah.
So how did the frequent flashbacks affect your reading experience? Did they add any depth or slow things down for y'all?
I felt like sometimes we stayed a little too long in the flashbacks, because then I'd be like immersed in them, and then I'd be like, where do we leave off? Like, where is she standing? What's happening?
Oh, I see.
So that's what kind of confused me. I had to like go back and remember what happened before the flashback. So that's what kind of lost me a little bit. But I did like them. I liked how we got to learn a lot about each one of their characters. Like they had a whole chapter on each of their backstories. So that was needed, and I liked that she gave us all the information we needed.
And do you like the way it was structured? That it was like we didn't really know the characters. We find out their stories later on.
Yeah, because they came in at good points. Because, I mean, it let us have an opinion on them. Like, who is Alice? Why is she so invested? Because, like, at first I was like...
Why does she endure the abuse that she does?
Yeah, I was like, why is she so obsessed with this man? Like, get over it. You're like, she's literally going to hell for him.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, come on.
Yeah.
But obviously, the more you read the book, it's like, okay, now I see what was happening.
Yeah, I truly love how this book starts out. Even with not knowing like the full depth of like why she cares so much, being a student and being this close to graduating is just, it's like that.
Yeah.
You know, where you're just like, God, this is really inconvenient for me that my professor and mentor is dead. And I'm just like, I'm this close.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for years. I would consider going to hell myself, honestly.
Throw in there that you
Like,
maybe killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then you get like fed that information going forward of just like why, like, truly does she want to go down there? Why is like retrieving his soul specifically the route that she's going about it? And like, just the depth that it adds from like, oh well, it's just I need him back, to I feel guilty that I was the one who killed him, to the reason that I want him back is because he treated me so poorly that I wanted to torture him for all of eternity, and you know, graduate. Like it's so good. I think it's personally paced super well in terms of like how it drip feeds almost like the backstory. Yeah.
Rosanna,
I have thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay, so again, countering.
I like that we're ops right now. I like this.
But so I feel like the flashbacks and the backstory, like you said, we are drip fed it throughout, but the big chunk of backstory and really like explaining character motives, I feel like that the placement of it was almost too late to like make the characters kind of interesting or redeemable.
I see.
Like it was, I feel like if it had been placed any later, like it would have just been like I don't care. Like
Very fair.
It was very so late in the book where I was like, oh man, this maybe should have been like a bit more like, you
Like
know,
sooner.
broken up in chunks, or given sooner.
Yeah.
Because again, like you pick up on hints throughout the book, like, okay, Professor Grimes sucks.
Yeah,
And you know,
definitely.
like Alice isn't the best person, but also she's going through it. And
Yeah.
then Peter is, you know,
We don't even know what's up with Peter until
Exactly.
his
Or like their
backstory.
relationship either.
like we just
Yeah.
feel like there's kind of a weird antagonizing more so from Alice than from Peter. So it's just kind of like, what's that whole deal? I do wish like we had been fed a bit more throughout
Earlier
the book,
on.
but
You
it's
know-
still like, you know, they did come in clutch.
Yeah. I felt that way for the relationship because I was very confused.
Yeah.
I was like, so did they have like a prior relationship? Were they boyfriend and girlfriend?
It was very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But I do like the payoff, right? So we get their main flashbacks. We find out that Alice has endured, I don't even like, it's abuse, but it's beyond.
It's like verbal abuse, psychological
Sexual
abuse,
abuse.
sexual abuse.
But also, I want to talk about the tattoo.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Because with that tattoo, it allows her to remember everything. Everything. So from textbooks to experiences to smell, taste, meaning she endures the trauma and abuse that Professor Grimes places on her in that one moment.
Yeah.
And she vividly remembers everything, and she has to endure everything. She
Yeah.
becomes depressed, right?
She even mentions like, I wish I could forget this, but I
Yeah.
can't. Like it's etched into
Yeah.
my mind, and that's like her driving force right there. Like, you know, when you're just constantly having that on loop, access to it.
Yeah. And especially given the fact that Grimes is the one who gave her the tattoo in the first place.
It's a constant
And he
reminder.
yeah.
Oh, it was such an uncomfortable moment. And it was a good moment in the book because it made me so uncomfortable. But when they're in Italy and he's putting the tattoo on her, and he's like
He's like being very
talking
like
to her,
very
and
intimate
grooming
with
her.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, good job. And,
Yeah.
dude, yeah. And I'm like, bro, oh my god, dude.
It's like I felt like that foreshadowed the fact that there was also like a sexual element to it, like very very clearly, just
Yeah.
because like it felt not only like an abuse of power, but it also felt like he had sort of like this intimacy with Alice that she was willing to endure to be in his good graces, which like that happens so frequently.
Yeah.
Like it's when you're in that sort of like power dynamic of just like, this is the person that I'm like dependent on for like the rest of my reputation, and I really respect their work, you just kind of and like he has a reputation of just like he's strict, he's a hard ass, like he has a really bad reputation. She says several times like, I'm almost like intrigued by the fact that I'm like attached to him in this way,
Yeah.
because then people will take me seriously, knowing that I'm a serious student, knowing that I survived his reputation, and like people knowing that like I am like just as ruthless. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's really laid in misogyny and the fact that her identity is tied to this man, and this man does whatever he wants, not just with her, but with countless students.
Yeah.
This is an ongoing thing, right?
And you bring up the misogyny too as a good point, because we learned that, like, so this book, we don't find out till later, it's set in the 80s, and because of that, you know, like, misogyny was so prevalent the decades before and even there, and it's still prevalent today, like, let's be real. But with that said, you know, they mentioned that women weren't even allowed to study, I think, like,
she was like the
magic and
first or
stuff like
second
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Until like recently. And she kind of, like, you know, that internalized misogyny as well, where she talks about, like, after she rebuffs Professor Grimes and he just starts ignoring her and, like, you know, taking opportunities away from her, she internalizes that so much where she's like, I started dressing, you know, sexier, and I started, you know, trying to, like, make myself more appealing to him. My goodness.
But,
It
like,
was
she just was so crazy because I don't know, she just wanted to be validated so bad. She even was like, I'm feeling power in this, and I'm like, girl, are you really?
And,
like,
you know,
just
we're also go ahead.
No, I was just like, the way she would torture herself too when
Yeah.
she was like, I wouldn't even eat when I was, like, studying, and she was like, I would just show myself, like, I don't need this, like, I'm that strong of a person. I was
And that's a result of, like, internalizing that misogyny. You don't even know it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even know that you're trying to appease, you know, a person, an authority figure. But these two questions kind of combine. You know, we've kind of been talking about it already. But I'm going to read both of them just to put our mind in that place. So what does the book suggest about the dangers of idolizing teachers, mentors, or intellectual authorities, right? How does the story critique the way academia protects powerful men, especially in the case of Alice and Professor Grimes?
So kind of in the vein of the what we were talking about earlier, misogyny is very much, like, entwined with academia, especially, like, you know, like, really old hat tradition, like, traditional academia. But also it is just the culture of academia within itself of just, like, you have to be self-sacrificing. Like, how many times have you ever heard, like, a law student say, like, or, like, a law student or someone who's been through law school be like, I could not, like, eat, sleep, have a social life, nothing, because I needed to put all of my time into the school system. I needed to put all of my time into my studies, and, like, my self-care fell by the wayside. It is all for just, like, you know, getting any amount of job security or respect or reputation. The fact that Alice and Peter are willing to put a lot on the line to continue to be magicians, and the fact that, like, in the fields of Asphodel, there are, like, those 4 undergraduates who are just like, we don't want to pass on because we were Cambridge magicians. And if we pass on and we reincarnate, then we're not going to have that prestige. We might be, like, day laborers. We might, like, who knows? We're going to be so much less important. And it's just, like, there's so much attached to your academic career, especially when you've spent so long, like, slaving away on it and giving up everything for it, that it's just, like, it's really baked in just to make yourself a tool, as opposed to, like, getting to live your life and getting to give yourself that self-respect of caring for yourself.
Like, that's not only an academic thing. I feel
Definitely
like that's everywhere. I feel like that's such an old way of thinking where it's like, you can't, like, you have to submerge yourself in work. Like, I just saw an interview for that Him movie of Marlon Wayne and his co-star. And Marlon Wayne was talking about how, I had to sacrifice a lot for my work. You know, it's my art. You know, friends and family, if they want to be around me, they're going to have to accept that this is, like, my life and this and that. And then his co-star was like, I'm Gen Z. That's not my mentality. I think there's a balance. I think you should be able to have a balance, you know, in your work life and in your relationships and things like that. So I was like, that was refreshing to me to see. I'm like, I hope that way of thinking is gonna hopefully kind of cease a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
it's so
it's
destructive.
everywhere. Yeah.
You know, and we find that kind of antithesis to Alice's, or, like, I guess what Alice could be in the form of the character of Elspeth, who you know, she was an academic at Cambridge. She studied under Grimes. She went through all the stuff that Alice went through, basically, you know. But then she got to a point where she realizes, like, why am I doing all this? You
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
why? What's the point of all this?
Well,
I mean,
didn't she realize that after she killed herself?
yeah, which I
She ends
mean,
up killing
granted,
herself,
she did kill herself, but she realizes, like, you know, like, hey,
She just couldn't do it, man. She just couldn't do it, you know?
You know, I respect her. I respect her. Best character in the book, in my opinion. You know, she
Love
was
her.
great.
Another
10 out of 10.
Another antithesis to this way of thinking was, I believe her name was Helen, Professor Helen.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The potential academic advisor
Yeah,
that she could have
so-
had. You could have had it all, girl.
Yeah. So, because of her internalized misogyny, Alice, she looks down upon Professor
She
Helen.
dismisses her, basically.
She makes fun of her. She sees there she's only there because her husband is at Cambridge, and so that's why she's there. She goes to speak to Helen about the abuse that she endured at the hands of Professor Grimes, and she's like, homegirl,
Yeah.
told you.
Yeah.
Suck it up. You know?
Yeah. You could have
Which
had
is-
community with all of like other female scholars.
Exactly.
I gave you that
Yeah.
opportunity. I gave all of y'all that opportunity, but all of y'all talk behind my back about how like feminism is just not something you want to associate yourself with.
Yeah.
And it leaves you without community, and here you are without community.
Right,
Exactly.
because they're
Yeah.
like, you see it as a radicalist movement.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, you chose
I
to
wouldn't
see
even
it
say
as
like I wouldn't even say Alice internalized it as a radical. She just saw it as less. Like
Yeah.
she saw those women in that cohort as less because you couldn't hack it like I'm hacking it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I feel like she knows now.
Yeah.
I do respect the
Definitely.
pettiness of that professor, though.
Yeah, you
Helen,
like
because
that?
It's like,
Oh, man.
it's like, you know, a good professor would be like, look, I told you so, but talk to me. You know, you can still count on me. She was just like, nah, baby girl.
Yeah, I definitely understand where that professor's coming from, but it's also that pettiness is also a result of like the misogyny and being
Yeah,
like, you know, like
definitely.
pushing
Yeah.
someone out who rejected you, like you know, like
Yeah.
There's a lot to
Definitely,
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, there she was putting like I think she says in that passage, which is like at this point it wasn't about me or Professor Grimes. It was about her finally having a captive audience to let all of this out.
Yeah.
you know, and like finally be like, I told you so, and here's more. Like
Yeah.
it's oh god.
She pulled a Kendrick Lamar and was like, say Alice.
But so we're gonna skip this next question because we kind of touched on it already. It's about Alice's relationship with Professor Grimes. He was an abuser. That's all he was. So was Alice's journey more about proving herself to Grimes or about finding her own self-worth? What do y'all think?
When it started out, it was absolutely about like not only her vengeance to Grimes, but yeah, to kind of be like, look, I made it here. You died. I need to find a way to rephrase that because I can't say that. But I'm gonna make you like basically my prisoner, my slave. You know, but as obviously the growth in hell, you know, she's again to kind
The
of
growth
parallel,
in
like
hell.
you know, kind of parallel Dante's Inferno a little bit.
No, definitely.
You know, she comes into herself finally. She's able to separate herself from like that academia persona and unintentionally, obviously, because that's how most stories of growth are. You unintentionally come into yourself, I think. She's able to just realize like I'm more than what I let this man make me out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even Peter at some point he's like, dude, why are you still defending him?
Yeah,
Like, what is
no,
this?
like, that was
like, why are you
ingrained.
making so many excuses? But we also have to understand that her memory, she doesn't forget anything.
Yeah.
I have stuff to say about that.
know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a little divorced from the topic at hand, but like it's every once in a while I'll come across something that like it will rewrite a concept that I've thought about in a way where it's like, oh, that sounds like kind of appealing. Like if someone ever did like a would you rather situation of like would you want to have perfect memory but you have to remember like all the embarrassing stuff you ever did. I used to be like I could probably take like the perfect memory. Now absolutely not, because this is the first time I've ever seen that concept really explored, and how that would affect you psychologically is just like the fact that the one that really stuck out to me is that I will look at an apple and my brain has to like go through like dodgeball, like things that it looks like before it lands on apple.
Yeah.
Because I just have so much knowledge bursting at the seams that I will like hallucinate things, or like I just know so much that like the cost is that I have no idea what's relevant, what's irrelevant, what's fact, what's fiction. Like and especially with her being in hell, with like the shifting landscape and like all of these things that are very personal to her, like kind of forming just like a landscape and obstacles and stuff like that. I feel like her memory is like, not only from like a writing standpoint, a very, very handy thing to have for just like multiple plot reasons, like regarding her motivation and her ability to like recall stuff and, you know, have the know-how to get out of situations, but also just like, it's devastating. And it really like points to Alice's characterization of just like, she is on her, like she's been on her last nerve for like the last five years or so. And she keeps on like kind of like tiptoeing up to the edge of the cliff, and somehow she still has enough like of her feet on the ground that she's not fully falling, but she's just like hoping that it'll be any day now. Yeah.
Which, funny enough, that literally happens, where she approaches the edge of the cliff and she's
that's true.
right there.
Yeah, that's right. That was so on the topic of her journey, were there any moments throughout her journey, any specific moments in the book where you were like, oh, this is really cool, you know? Like, for example, for me, in the battle with the crypt keys, she like gets the freaking, like, she has armor and everything.
Dude,
she has her knife. That's so cool.
Unhinged,
Like, that's
feminine
so cool.
rage.
Dude, that's so awesome. And then also too, when she's at the Citadel, where before she's about to like fall or whatever, that whole idea, I forgot what the character's name, but she's in the
Greatest?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Greatest is the one traveling with her.
Gertrude? Okay.
Gertrude is like,
I don't know who these people are.
yeah. So Gertrude is like, you let me show you the truth. Let me show you the way. Let me show you. And so Alice, enticed, follows her, and she's like, we have the ability to create the Citadel in our image, right? We have the ability to become rulers of this area. You know? We have a millennia. We have eons. You know, we have all the time in the world. And so we find out that other people that Gertrude has enticed, they become into like some type of meditative state where they become trees, bushes, right? And so one of my favorite moments is where Alice is like being too loud, and she wakes up one of the bushes, and one of the bushes, like in coming to I guess their realization, they jump off the cliff into the leafy. Yeah, that was so cool. I really like that. Like just getting out of that trance, out of that lie that was fed to him by Gertrude.
Because she asks him a question like, why can't you just leave? And that's like what prompts him.
Yeah. And they even respond like why would we leave? You know, why would we leave? So that was one of the two moments that I really liked, among other ones. But what about y'all? Were there any specific moments?
I liked when they mentioned San Antonio.
Yeah. That's right. They mentioned San Antonio.
That's right.
Shout out.
Dude.
Our lovely hill country.
R.F. Kuang, how did you know that we were going to be reading your book and discussing it, and that we were from San Antonio?
Yeah, how did you know? I'm sure you did.
I'm sure you wrote this just for us.
It's because you saw our discussion on Yellowface and you liked it so much. You're like, you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to San Antonio.
Yeah, so
Let me write an epic in a few months after watching it.
No, I think she already had it like ready to go, and she was about to publish it, and then she was like, wait a minute. I know just the thing. I need to explain why Alice doesn't like swimming.
She doesn't like swimming because of San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, when I had read that part, I was so tempted to be like, oh my God, San Antonio is a shout out. Like, San Antonio gets a shout out, but I didn't know if you had gotten there yet.
I did not.
But yeah. So it was San Antonio, right?
Yeah, it was. She literally says San Antonio.
Because she went to go like river tubing with her parents, and then like they got there too late, and there was like a girl who drowned in the river, and everyone was freaking out. I wonder if
R.F. Kuang like had that experience like in real life.
I hope to God not.
Disclaimer: never swim in the river walk.
I know. Well, I was like, that does happen.
Well, what about tubing?
Tubing.
You know?
Do not let the water touch your skin.
Yeah,
it is leafy.
Yeah, honestly, don't let the river water touch your skin is pretty accurate.
It's not that you'll forget; you'll always remember.
Yeah, you'll never wash the grime.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for this episode. We can't go.
I'll be here till Thursday.
What about you?
Go ahead.
Rosanna, Louis, any specific moments that y'all really enjoyed of Alice's journey?
Okay, so definitely towards the end where she finally gets to King Yama, and I like when he, because he's very benevolent. He's not this scary, imposing figure, you know. And he's like, like again, going back to the concept of how do you want me to present you? Because she's like, what do I call you? And he's like, how do you want to call me? And he's like, Hades, Anubis, King Yama, all of these
deities
of death, portrayal of, personifications of death.
Yeah.
And she picks King Yama because obviously that's ingrained in her culture. That's her family. So I thought that was really cool. And then I enjoyed, so there is one scene in particular that really stood out to me and I liked it, was when they're all on Elspeth's boat. And I think she's like by herself, and so she just wakes up and she sees the scene of Elspeth, Peter. and Archimedes the cat, and they're all just sitting at the railing and just like staring out into the Lethe, and she's just kind of like standing away from that because she doesn't like it gives the impression of like they're all kind of bonding in this quietness.
Yeah, that's how I took it too.
And she's just so separate from that because we've already learned about like her plot to kind of betray Elspeth and all of that. So I really did like that scene. It was just a quiet little moment of realization.
Yeah,
Definitely. How did you feel about that betrayal when it happened?
I was like, this girl does not care. She's gonna do it. I would hope Peter doesn't go with her,
Which
but
is a very antiquated way of thinking for as a man. You know, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna get what I want. I'm here to do something, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes.
That's why I didn't
It's
understand why
ruthless. It's
she was
cutthroat.
so upset with Peter when she realized that Peter was wanting to do the same, but with her. I was like,
yeah,
that's true.
Well, I feel like at that point it was personal.
It was kind of the hypocrisy behind it, where it's like, I'm okay betraying this person, but you're gonna do it.
You're gonna do it to me?
And the thing is, he had no plans to do it to
I
her
know.
anyway. Like, she never bothered to ask the
Selfless
question,
Peter.
like, hey, so I saw your research notes until way later.
Yeah,
but like,
like-
also, I love that Elspeth was just too smart to be like, I've been around this stuff for 10 years.
Yeah.
The liar's
Was it
paradox.
10 years? Was it 10 years?
Probably
a
bit
while.
more.
It might have been a bit longer.
She's like,
Because
I've
the
been
Crypt Keys were
around.
10 years for sure.
Oh, okay.
Because she had killed herself, I think, like in the 60s or 70s.
Oh, okay,
so it
you're
was,
right,
like,
you're right, you're right,
10
you're
to
right, yeah,
15-ish
yeah,
years.
Kind of like with that, first of all, Elspeth's like kind of transformation to like the butterflies and stuff like that whenever she was like tossing them
beautiful.
out, like being gentle with them but also getting them the hell off her boat, just like the hell off her boat.
Get out of my swamp.
But yeah, no, like I love Elspeth so much. She deserved much better, at least to the point that I'm at.
She might have passed on. She might have been reincarnated
Okay,
because
okay.
of her
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
sacrifice.
lie.
I haven't gotten
The
there
ending,
yet, but-
her ending, just, I'm not gonna lie, that did hit me a bit, her ending.
Okay, cool. Don't tell me anything else. I want something to
I'm gonna tell
surprise
them-
me, please.
I'm gonna tell you right
now. Okay. But because I've only seen Alice truly at her worst and lowest moments so far, which is awesome. I love how many bad decisions she makes. Like smart bad decisions, like ruthless decisions, but they just backfire on her because she didn't consider another way. But I love that scene very much, and it goes back into like what I find fascinating about like the tattoo and like the memory, where it's the Weaver girl and they're like, she puts up the sheet between them and is like, okay, here's your like choice. Are you going to betray the person on the other side of the curtain? And she's like, okay, obviously this is easy. This is an easy problem to solve. And then she just hasn't worked a lot out, and she still thinks she hasn't talked to Peter about what she thought she saw. So she's like left there all to her own devices, being like, okay, so this is an easy choice, but he hates me. He hates me. No, he actually hates me, and he was wanting to betray me anyway. So like, it's self-preservation. I have to be ruthless. I have to leave him to die. I just have to. And without even realizing it fully, because she's so like clouded in all of this, but she couldn't stop herself from like spiraling into like just like anger and paranoia, she chooses like the apple that like is supposed to doom him to death. And then Peter's like, hey, Alice, why? What the hell?
Yeah, dude.
What were you thinking? And she's just like scrambled. Like, I love that moment a lot because like she's like, oh, I didn't even realize that I grabbed it. I don't hecking believe her.
Yeah, because she tries to make excuses constantly. Like, oh,
Yeah.
my arm just did something and I didn't realize that wasn't me, Peter. That wasn't me, Rhonda.
That wasn't me. I was just thinking the worst of you completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about their relationship, their dynamic. How did you feel about Peter and Alice's dynamic? Did it feel like enemies to lovers or something more complicated? Before y'all answer, I watched a lot of videos of people giving their thoughts on the book. So this book was marketed as a romance.
Bizarre.
really?
I understood that there was something going on between them.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, if it led up to that, to them coming together, being together, okay, cool. But to market it as a romance. I don't know.
I did not get that.
I didn't get that at all.
I don't even know
No.
if I got like the enemies part a lot
Me
either, because
either,
there was
yeah.
always something between them, you know, like even from the start when they were working for Professor Grimes,
yeah.
they had a relationship, and
Yeah.
she was looking up to Peter as well.
She was like, at that moment when they were working together, you know, prior to going to hell, there was two things going on. Professor Grimes was pitting them against each other,
Yeah.
feeding them, you know, lies and just all this stuff, right? But they were falling in love with each other at that
Yeah.
moment when they were working together. They were falling in love.
Yeah.
Alice was like, she was falling in love with Peter. And
Like,
Peter,
she might not have realized it.
Yeah.
but she definitely wanted something more from Peter to continue their friendship, to continue working together, right? But then Peter, because of his chronic illness, he has to take the step. He takes a step back and ignores Alice, which, I mean...
And also, I mean, he
Yeah.
does, unfortunately, see them when Alice is
Oh, yeah, that's
being
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
harassed
Holy
sexually
moly,
by,
that's
and that
true.
definitely shifts things to where Alice is
Has
like,
a Legally Blonde moment where it's just like walks in, sees just like the worst possible image,
Yeah.
but doesn't know that she's like, I
yeah.
don't want
that's
this.
exactly
When I
Yeah.
read that
what
part, I was like,
happens.
of course.
Like that
Oh
that
my
would make
God.
sense. Like that's going to shift your relationship. And again, it was definitely a lot more one-sided antagonism coming from Alice, because it seemed like Professor Grimes realized like it's going to be easier to pit her against him than him against her, because
Yeah.
you know,
But there was definitely moments when Professor Grimes...
oh,
would
he still
tell-
like talks smack about her, like you
like
know,
to
like,
Peter, he would like, look, she has to work harder and she's better than you, or
Yeah.
like, you know, if
Yeah.
you don't work as hard as her, you know, you're never going to amount to anything, you know. So it didn't feel like enemies to lovers to you?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it didn't feel like enemies to lovers specifically. It felt like you said, it felt a lot like very one-sided is the thing. It felt like Alice was just completely in her head and not in a sound state of mind whatsoever. Lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, just so much against her.
trauma
That like
bonded.
that she literally was like this. I also, you know, Rosanna and I were talking about this. I see her as kind of like Ace Aerospec a
Oh,
little bit, because like she's
very.
very like uncomfortable and very clinical when it comes to like sexual talk, especially because considering the harassment that she endured. But like she's just kind of, she also, when Peter's like, oh, can you pretend to love me so we can get past like the Weaver girl, she's like, I don't even think that I know what love is, and he has to like break it down for her, and she's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Love doesn't exist. Like I'm like, I've been there. I know what she's out. I know what she's on. I know her. But also just like I feel like she was maybe in a way falling in love with Peter, but just not realizing that that's what it was. And then as soon as he pulls away, because they don't communicate with each other, because you know
Sort of
it's a
always boils
situation.
down to.
Yeah, it's just like because they don't communicate with one another. She's like, oh, this is my fault because somebody's pulling away because I did something wrong, because that's what's been happening to her over and over and over again, especially when you're in that kind of like fawning state of like, I'm trying to get this authority figure's like love, and I'm already jealous of this guy who's like way better than me, like naturally, silver spoon in his mouth. You're just gonna default, or especially someone in Alice's situation is gonna default to like, oh, he hates me, he absolutely hates me. So I think they were one-sided enemies for sure.
Yeah.
To lovers, I could see it going either way.
You know,
I think it works.
Go
I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it works better as kind of friends, like
Yeah.
colleagues in a way. Like I think that was a better relationship. But I do like going back to the whole asexual
like in the
thing.
end, like at the end, like being friends.
Yeah, because I feel
versus,
like
like,
it didn't
lovers?
feel like it built up enough
Yeah.
to like it was still kind of like cute. I'm not gonna lie, seeing like kind of that the prospects of that potential
Yeah.
budding relationship.
Yeah.
But also there's so much they need to talk about and
Yeah.
discuss. Like they need to have a good conversation.
Which is one of the critiques that I saw about the book, is that they didn't talk at the very end. You know, it's kind of like, okay, you know, we want to be together now. We endured this journey
Yeah.
together. I will say that trauma, like when you go through trauma together, like that bond is very
Insane.
strong,
Yeah.
very strong. So I could see as to why the trauma of enduring Professor Grimes' abuse, having that shared experience, as to why, you know,
like
they're
its
able
own
to
source of
understand,
attraction.
and also too, I think she even said that she was like physically attracted to him and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff as well. you
Yeah,
know?
because there's scenes where she convinces herself, like, I want Professor Grimes to love me. I want him, like, it's almost like she kind of forces herself to
Yeah.
find attractive aspects of him. But I think it's, again, that, like, latent asexuality, or,
Yeah.
which I don't know if R.F. Kuang, like, intentionally, excuse me, wrote it like that. But, I mean, it's definitely giving notes of, like, asexuality, demisexuality,
Yeah,
100%.
In what instances, like?
Just kind of, she has just this like very clinical view of like sex is this thing that other people enjoy because they can't like if I can go personal, I grew up being like, oh, okay, like people have like crushes, people have like sexual attraction. Couldn't be me though, because that's like, that just seems stupid. I can't believe that like people will like get themselves into such horrible situations because they just had to cheat, or they just had to blah blah blah. I did not like at all understand that was just literally how people's brains worked. And I found out, no surprise now, that I was somewhere on the asexual spectrum, because it was very much just like I personally have like this kind of she views it very much in the book as just like this is just something that people do, and I just don't understand like the basis of it. Same thing with like love in general, and having to have it explained to her, the kind of like an aromantic sort of thing as well, of just like it's not something that's on the forefront of her mind. And you can say that it's like because she's very like academically focused, but like also there just seems to be like a revulsion there in general.
definitely.
Well, I think the revulsion comes from the abuse that she endured, the sexual abuse.
Definitely could be.
And then also she explained that she had prior relationships, but I also see what y'all are saying as well.
Because you could still have prior relationships and just be like, well, I like this person, but I don't like the idea of...
I didn't, also think it was the culture too, because I think it was explained like to participate in any type of sexual activities was like almost seen as like weak, because why would you do that when you could be studying, when you could be doing your research?
I mean, she mentions that when they're in the
Desire.
So like for
She freaks out.
for Desire, like I feel like Peter was the one who wanted to go.
For real.
That's how I felt. Like he just wanted to check it out.
But here's my thing.
That's the vibe I got.
I mean,
here's
fair, you know.
Here's where I'm at on that, though. I think the reason he was so adamant was because he'd seen what had transpired between Alice and
that's
Grimes.
true. Okay, very
and
good.
that's why, like, when he was
That
like,
makes
"Oh
sense.
no, I want to check this last one, this office," and he was like so like adamant to like check, because he was like, "Oh, you think that Grimes is above this, do you?" Like, okay, well, I know what I saw.
Like,
and he,
not
like,
the
goes
guy.
But
Yeah.
also too,
Yeah.
we learned that this is a trope that he does all the time. He's like, taking advantage of all his students and
Grooming
everything.
them.
Well, yeah, I thought the same as Peter, because when Alice was just
I
like, yeah,
see.
no, he's so above this, like, we're not gonna see him here. I was like, girl, come on, he's a guy, like, he meandered.
To quote
in there.
Hades from Hercules, the Disney movie, he's a god.
But let's get towards the end, right?
All right.
Did you hear about Peter's sacrifice? Did you read about Peter's sacrifice? Are you familiar
You
with
guys-
Peter's sacrifice?
You guys told me about it. 'Cause
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm devastated. I love Peter. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But you guys had informed me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So this question centers around that. What was your reaction to Peter's sacrifice and death? Did it feel earned? Did it change your view of him and his role in Alice's journey?
It felt like it was going to happen. Like, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was leading up to that. Like, the whole Alice found his research and she thought he was going to sacrifice her for Grimes. It's like, that was not going to happen. Peter's not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like it was going to happen. And I was kind of hoping it would stand towards the end, or it would result in what, like, maybe her realizing, like, oh, let me sacrifice myself to bring Peter back, you know? I was hoping that, like,
that was gonna
it would
happen.
be kind of like a lesson learned for her.
True.
Like, I got through hell, I did the thing, but at what cost?
I
you
was
know?
wondering-
I was kind of hoping that would be like, kind of, you know, that like
Yeah.
tragic aspect of, you know, like seen in so many like Greek mythology.
Well, I was like,
stories
yeah,
and
he
stuff.
reminded me of Peeta from Hunger Games, so I saw that coming.
Peter. Do you think
There's
it was
a horse, Peter.
you
What is
think
it?
it was-
The horse is back.
Do you think it was necessary for him to die? For her to for this change, this transformation in Alice to occur?
I don't know. I don't even know if that is where she changed a lot.
I
feel like it happened later
Yeah.
in the book.
I do
think so,
think that
too.
that's the moment the seed is planted because Peter tells her. I was gonna say Peter, because Peter tells her, finish this, or he tells her and like keep this promise to me. And later on, she says it. She's like, I have to do this for Peter. You know, I have to kill the crypt keys for Peter. I have to get out of here for Peter.
That's true.
You know, so the seed was planted. I don't know if it was necessary for him to die. I would have liked for him to remain dead.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm like, it should have stood just to, again, give her like some sense of loss.
Louis' face.
What did he do to you?
No,
Like, he's a
back.
good character. He's a sympathetic character, but you know,
a little too sympathetic, in my opinion.
All right, we're having hands.
But it just feel like, you know, like, yeah, she went through her character growth, which is great, but it still feel like she didn't quite, like, you know,
If I was
I don't know how
Peter,
to
I think I
explain
would
it.
have killed myself too in that instance.
he saw an easy out. and he was
Exactly,
like, you
because
know
the
what?
whole time he was like, "Wait, why are we could end here.
we
could
die,
stop
we could just
here.
go back.
Exactly.
You know?
Like, why do we have to keep
Like,
going
he was
further?
still the voice of reason and just, you know.
I mean, to be fair, if I were in his position and I was constantly like, why are you doing this? Why are you defending him? Why are you going down to hell just to like save this man who's just, you know, a piece of crap, like just terrible guy.
But
what
he's
like
there
what are you
too.
doing? But he's there too, and I have not gotten to the part of the book of why he's fully invested in this, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he is for a very good reason. But like he like, and someone was just like, well, the real reason that I'm going down there is because I actually want to torture him and just, you know, get revenge on him for all the terrible things he did. I'd be like, yeah, fair, but also give up half your life.
But he
for
did
that?
it too.
But
But
I
I mean,
Grimes is still taking part of you.
yeah, even
Yeah.
more. But I don't know. Well, I mean, his was because he thinks he kills Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
But even if he
Oh,
did believe
yeah.
that, like,
So that's why he goes with her, because he believes that he did. So we find out that Professor Grimes steals Peter's research,
Oh,
right? And
yeah, okay, I guess that tracks.
as an act of revenge, Professor Grimes gives Peter the research, his research, to look over and correct. And Peter's like, you know what? Forget that. I'm just gonna be like, okay, it's good. And that's what ends up.
That's
Yeah.
so based. I love him. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that both of them. She's just like, because I killed Grimes, and he's like, yeah,
Honey,
you
I
totally,
loaded
yeah,
the
No,
gun.
like that's
Yeah.
exactly how it is. That
It's
is
like, yeah, you
Honey.
totally killed Grimes.
So the way it plays out is like, no, I killed Grimes. Like, what? No, it was me. And so they're like, there's this like back and forth. No, me. No, it was me. And it's like, yeah, it was both of y'all
Yeah,
probably.
truly.
gives me,
and
like-
hey,
It
truly,
happens.
Grimes
People
killed
die all the
himself.
time. Who cares if he died? We're at the very end of the book now, right? So how did you feel about the ending where Alice rejects Grimes and embraces life and a new appreciation of existence? And
girl,
also,
I was like,
finally.
girl, she finally stood up.
you know, to what y'all said right now, it takes a lot to come out of trauma.
I mean, yeah, it
takes a lot to come out.
to process it. You know, like in all seriousness, it's a journey, and it's a journey that could feel like going through hell. You go through, you become depressed. You know, you push people away. You feel like you're alone. You feel like nobody loves you, and yeah, you feel like you're going through these 8 rings of hell. That you're going to the citadel. You know that you're trying to get out of it, but you can't because something doesn't let you.
You know, and the temptation of having the river Lethe right there. Like, you could just wade
Yeah,
into it
yeah.
to forget all about it, but she doesn't have that privilege because she can't. You
She's
know?
immune.
That's an immediate solution to her distress, and she can't even access that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was because of something that Grimes put on her. And I feel like it was like a pretty clear metaphor, if you want to take it that way, of just like she has all these memories because of something he did to her and can't remove them
Yeah.
because of something he did to her, because of something he did that prevents her from ever forgetting it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
You know, and that's one of the things that in the videos that I was watching, nobody really mentions the trauma. Nobody really mentions the misogyny. You know, they
That's
focus
such
on
a big part of the
you know
story.
they focus on like oh, people say this reads as an academic book, you know, but no, it doesn't, or things like that. But you know, like I thought the ending, I think it would have been fine with Peter staying dead. The fact that they got together, and they leave hell together. I'm content with that. I would have liked a little bit more like explanation at the end. Like we know what's gonna happen with them. Alice does say though, she's like, I don't even care about this studies anymore. Like whatever.
God, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, after going
through hell and back.
Yeah, I mean, coming hot off the heels of like Water Moon is like the last one that I
couldn't
was
help
on.
but keep like
I kept on
making
thinking of just like,
comparisons.
and it's just like the way that book ended. It sounds like it's got kind of a similar problem where a lot of things were kind of like backloaded and then like not a lot of explanation. But like I am looking forward to how Katabasis like handles its ending compared to how abrupt Water Moon was and like absurd that one was. Because like I like. Say what you want about Water Moon, the ending for me was just trash. Not it. It was oh god. But like so I think I'm excited to see how they handle it regardless. And honestly, I'm a Peter stan. I'm gonna be happy that he made it out.
Good.
Which fair,
Good.
Yeah. Like the ending, it's not a bad ending.
Definitely not. Concluding our discussion, what would y'all rate Katabasis by R.F. Kuang out of 10? Ruby.
I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10. It was really, really good. A little dense, but that could be just because of me and my attention span.
I see.
But I really liked it.
Very good. Louis? So
far, it's like a good 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10 for me. It just so happens to be really up my alley in terms of like things I enjoy, like Dante's Inferno, like Greek mythology, stuff like that, Thanatology in general. And also I just think the magic system's great. I think the characterization is fantastic. Holding it back from a 10 personally is also just the fact that I've had to cram a lot of like very dense, like here's this paradox, which I would normally very much enjoy the discussion of like mathematics, non-Euclidean stuff, but having to, grapple with that as like an assignment, I need a bit of time to cool off on it before I get back to it.
Rosanna?
Okay, time for my regurgitation. Do it. So I mentioned before, like I think it's better as a text read as opposed to the audiobook. I do think it had a few issues that I did mention, but I enjoyed the world building, the storytelling.
After our discussion.
After our discussion, it makes for a very good discussion book.
Definitely.
Like if you want to do it as a book club book, by all means. I think it's a great solo read too. It does get kind of bogged down a bit by too many details, I think. But again, if that's something that you have no prior knowledge of, I think it's great. The romance between the two characters, but as individuals, I think they really did flourish on their own. And then of course, the addition of the side characters, because this book does not have many characters to begin with.
Right.
It's very minimal on characters. So I think when I finished it, I was at like a 7. But I'll probably bump it up to like a 7.58 because it's an entertaining read. It's fun. It might not be for everyone, but it was enjoyable. I could see myself down the line, giving it a reread to kind of
I could see that as well.
Process things again. It's a fun little journey.
So I would rate it. I love R.F. Kuang. I've read all her books except the 2 sequels in the popular trilogy. R.F. Kuang, if you're listening, we would love to have you on BiblioTech on air.
He didn't read your other 2 books. He's not a real fan.
It's gonna happen. But with that being said,
I want her on here too.
I would rate it an 8.75. Right? I really enjoyed it. It was after speaking with y'all about it, after speaking with Kim about it, I would have liked more depth. I would have liked more explanation on the different rings of hell. I would have liked learning their backstories a little bit earlier on, like you said, Rosanna. But for me, 8.75.
Yeah.
I would like a little, even if it's a short novella about Elspeth and her continuation through hell. That would be kind of cool.
Imagine a comic book of this. Oh.
See, this is where I'm at.
TV show.
I think ideally, if I were like, this needs to be translated to a different medium, similar thing what I said with Water Moon, I think making this a graphic novel or a comic book would be incredible. Because like cartoon, that takes a really long time to produce and I want it now. But also, but like a live action movie, I just feel like the effects are gonna age weird. I feel like this deserves like to be more timeless in a way.
Yeah.
And I just feel like a comic book is a really good way to do that.
And a movie, you know, they're going to try to do the thing and split it into like 2 or 3 parts.
my
It's going to
God.
get bogged down in the desert.
Whoever plays House is gonna be Professor Grimes.
You know?
Yeah.
Other way around. Whoever plays Professor Grimes is going to be the same actor's House.
Yes.
Yeah. But with that being said, that does end our discussion today of Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. It is available on Hoopla and Cloud Library, along with her other works. If you are a Bear County resident and you don't have a BiblioTech library card, I don't know what you're doing. You can register at one of our 4 locations. It's free to register, or by visiting our website, bibliotech.org. That's bibliotech.org. Brand new, too.
And we're saving you the trip to hell.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to hell to get a library card.
Exactly. So register today, and I'm Israel.
I'm Rosanna.
I'm Lewis.
I'm Ruby.
And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.